of my favorites, one of my heroes, one of my friends. Jim Dean is with us. He's the chairman of Democracy for America, DFA, democracyforamerica.com, one of the websites that you constantly hear me telling you to go to. And Jim, welcome.
Tom, thanks for having me on. How are you?
Just great. You guys are still doing trainings around the country on how to be an activist?
Sure are. We actually just finally got to Anchorage, Alaska about 2 weeks ago. So we've got about 4 more states to go to, but we're going to still keep pushing this. And
4 more states before you've hit all 50?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Yeah. So it's been a long haul at it, but we got to keep coming back. You know, we got to keep getting people involved and making it easier for people to take responsibility over the political process.
Have you become a frequent flyer miles junkie? Is that?
Well, I'm on a lot of different airlines, so they don't really treat me better. One doesn't treat me better than the other.
That's unfortunate. I've actually played that game for years. Anyway, the Take Back America movement, the Take Back the American Dream movement, actually, I think is, and that's an important distinction because, you know, pre-Reagan, we all understood that the American dream was the life that my dad and most of my friends' parents had. I grew up in Lansing, Michigan, a blue-collar working-class town. My dad worked in a tool and die shop. My next-door neighbor's dad worked at Oldsmobile. The guy across the street worked at Fisher Body. I mean, you know, that was and on that one single salary, you could raise a kid, raise a family, put your kids through college. My dad and mom had 4 sons, and have a pension and retire. How do we take back the American dream?
Well, I think it's a lot of different things all coming together at once. You know, you're seeing it with the spontaneous actions that are going on all over the country with the Occupy Wall Street, and that's really important. These folks are keeping this thing alive, just like the folks in Wisconsin did in February and January of last year, which was very, very important. You're seeing labor with a renewed vigor right now, and it's not just within their membership, it's outside of their membership with a lot of people who are empathetic with the idea that if you work for a living in this country, you ought to be able to make a living. And they're empathetic with the fact that labor does offer the kinds of opportunities. It wants a society that offers not just a living wage, but opportunities for people to have advancement, opportunities for our kids. So you're seeing a resurgence there. And then, you know, listen, there are a lot of other great progressive groups out there right now offering different ways to get involved. But the important operative word here is get involved. It's not about one organization or another. It's about all of us taking back control of the political process and taking back control of our country from big business.
democracyforamerica.com, the website for your organization. I want to say that again because I want people to go there, and B, I'd like to talk to you about beyond that, this conference, your participation in this conference, your sense of this conference. Why are you here? What do you see going on here?
Well, it's always helpful for us to be at places where there are other groups doing other work so we can understand that better and get a lot smarter about what's going on out there and also get smarter about how to be effective. You know, we were very, very involved in the Wisconsin recall elections. We just went up and giddy-apped over to Ohio, where we're working with a broad coalition of groups to repeal the anti-collective bargaining legislation that Governor Kasich passed.
This is SB 5?
SB 5. And kudos to the folks who got the voter suppression repeal on the ballot. That's not going to happen until 2012, but that's very important for this election. We have a lot of other opportunities in other states for forward-thinking legislation. You know, we're not about just fighting back against these folks. You know, we have a lot of states that are going to be setting up these healthcare exchanges, and that may include some of the government option stuff, as Vermont did in its bill last year.
Yeah. Montana, Governor Schweitzer came out last week or the week before saying he wants to do that.
Yeah, we have other states that are talking about public financing of elections, which in my home state of Connecticut has been a home run. For everybody.
But the Supreme Court just knocked that down in Arizona. Did they knock it down so narrowly that it could be done a different way? Or
they knocked it down basically because what they're saying is that you can't tell a candidate that they have to pay an extra penalty or that they can't spend all the money they want on an election. So, in fact, in Connecticut, for example, if you have $1 billion and want to run for legislature, you can do it. But the fact is, in 2 short cycles, Tom, what this has already done is it created a culture among the voters where they don't really particularly appreciate candidates who are spending a lot of money on races, particularly when their opponents are taking public financing.
Right.
That's why Governor Malloy got elected over a free-spending Republican, and it's like one of the reasons why Richard Blumenthal won his race against
So
Linda
you
McMahon.
already have public funding in Connecticut?
Yeah, we've had it for 2 cycles.
I didn't know that.
And
How did I
it's
miss
for
that?
the legislative races and the governor's races. Last year was the first governor's race
Right.
that had been in place.
What's the threshold to get in? How many signatures, how many dollars do you need?
Well, in
to-
the legislative race, and this may have changed because it's going to change from one cycle to the next, but you had to raise $15,000 in $100 contributions. A lot of it had to come from within your district. You had to get a certain amount of signatures on the ballot, and then you qualify for an $85,000 grant. So instead of millions of dollars in a legislative race, we're basically having legislative contests for less than $100,000 right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
amazing.
taken all the big special interest money out of politics.
So what happens if one of Karl Rove's GPS whatever comes in and just runs $500,000 of the ads against somebody?
Well, Linda McMahon did the same thing against Richard Blumenthal last year, and Richard Blumenthal won. Tom Foley did it against Governor Malloy, and Governor Malloy won.
So do they get outed as a result of this?
Sure.
Does the process
Sure.
increases the
And
transparency?
actually, the polling shows that people, when they start hearing these commercials, all they're being reminded of is that these opponents have a lot of money. So
Oh,
it's
that's
becoming, and it happened to Meg Whitman in California.
Sure.
So if we could keep more states adopting this, we can get more states to adopt it, which is an opportunity next year, we could start dumbing down Citizens United in a different way. Listen, I'm for a constitutional amendment, but we got to get everybody on board with this.
Yeah, corporations are not people, money is not speech.
Right.
Amend the
Absolutely.
Constitution. Jim Dean, democracyforamerica.com is the website. That's FOR, Democracy for America. Jim,
Thanks so much,
always
Tom.
an honor to see you.
Appreciate it.